My name is Michael Haddix. I'm the founder and CEO of Empower, where we educate, we elevate, and we empower today's athlete. I'm excited about our conversation today. We have Darryl Reynolds and Alvin Williams. They're sharing their experiences about business and finance, all through the lens of their athletic career and how they've dealt with their transition. I'll leave it up to you guys to introduce yourself, and thanks for coming today.
I'll go first. Darryl Reynolds, graduated from Nova in 2017, was on the 2016 National Championship team. Graduated with a comm degree, and after a year playing overseas, I returned home. Had a knee injury that ended my career pretty much, and I immediately jumped into what I went to school for, communications. So I'm now doing some broadcasting. I have my own media company called Stay Tuned Network. Doing some writing for several sites like Culture Hub and Philly Sports Nation. So really just getting my hands on as much as I can and trying to feed that same bug that, competing in basketball did.
Alvin, tell me what you're doing now, and you back.
Yeah, retired NBA player. Was fortunate enough to play, fulfill my dream in the NBA. Once I completed that, I'm just trying to find myself. I was trying to find myself. I retired in 2008, and since then, I've done some media stuff. I've done some front office stuff with the Toronto Raptors, and one of the positions I had with Toronto was director of player development, where I really dealt with off the court situations, not necessarily the skill training and stuff like that, but off the court stuff as far as family situations, decision making, just personal stuff where it let me know. It gave me a direction to where I am today, and that's working as a co-founder of Pro Capita Partners, which is a wealth advisory firm, focused on athletes, entertainers, influencers, high net worth families. But my twist on it is really trying to help the athletes and the families, really help them go through the next steps and the phases of their career. Post-career especially. So everything we're doing throughout their career is going to help them and empower them post-career. So that's who we are. It's a great company. It's a startup. And where we are right now, really developing that mindset and how we're going to approach their clients and their families. So sports to finances, my own experiences, is I'm trying to put it all in one and make something really impactful.
Yeah, that's dope. And our goal at Empower is to share these lessons from people who've done it. So the goal is you guys have been through things that I think are representative of a lot of people out there. And that's our goals today, and that's our goals as a business. So let's kick it off with the first question. So we'll start with you, Darryl. So tell me one of the best lessons you've learned in business and finance, and a little bit about how you learned it.
One of the best lessons I learned in business and finance was it's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. And I know that's not very in depth. I know that's not blockchain investments or anything like that, but it was a very fundamental lesson. I'm very big on the little things that make the big picture. And somebody told me guys get so caught up. I didn't play in the NBA. So not playing in the NBA, you hear guys talk about, oh, you're going overseas. They talk about it like it's a tragedy almost, and it's like, oh, you're only making X amount of dollars. So let's say my first year overseas, I only made $40,000, but I only made $40,000 and I came home with 35 of it because out there they were taking care of my housing and my car, and I only paid for food and fun. You know what I mean? And then when I came home and I budgeted the right way, when I got hurt, I was able to live a certain way for a certain amount of time without needing to get a job, without needing to get back on my feet to play immediately because I didn't spend a whole lot. So you hear about guys making millions and millions of dollars, and it's like, all right, if you're making that, but you're living as if you're, only making $40,000 or something like that over 10 months playing overseas, then you're way better off than the guy that's living like, oh, I have $1 million coming right after I spend this $1 million.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned this is like a basic lesson, but I think concepts in finance, that's what we're here. The concepts in finance are just a bunch of little lessons that build up the big ones.
Yeah.
And I think that unpacking that and taking out some of the misconceptions are what we're trying to do here, and I think that's how we're going to progress.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right. I think you look at that top line number of what you make. That's a lot different than that bottom line number.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people get caught up in looking at that top line number, but you pay your rent and you pay your bills with that bottom line number. So that top line number doesn't mean much.
Exactly.
So that's a great lesson. And Alvin, your experience in college and in the NBA, can you tell me one of the best lessons you've learned and how you learned it?
Man, the lesson I've learned, I think back, I'm 45 now, so I'm an old head, so I've learned a lot. So ask questions. And that was my biggest thing. Not being concerned about being or perceived as being dumb, or you should know something, especially when you're dealing with your finances and stuff like that. So my thing was, I remember sitting in rooms with my financial advisor and business people and stuff, and I wouldn't ask a question. I would act like I knew everything, and I didn't know anything. And then when it came down to it, even reviewing a statement, and I came from Villanova, graduated, highly intelligent, I like to think, but I was just so fearful of being vulnerable. So I think like the financial piece, the X's and O's and the numbers and the bottom line and top line and everything, you want to equip yourself as much as you can to come up with an answer or identity of how you want to go about life. And I think it always comes from asking questions. And most importantly, you figure out what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And through experience, you're going to start learning those things. So put yourself in different situations, different platforms, different environments where you can continue to learn. You put people that's not exactly like you. And I'm never saying your friends, at least you got to put yourself in uncomfortable positions so you can continue to learn. And I think ultimately you're going to learn from the best. It's just like when you first start playing ball, I'm going to look at Michael Jordan films. I ain't going to look at Johnny Too Short down the street films. I'm looking at Michael Jordan films because that's what I aspire to be. So put yourself in those environments that can help you, continue to grow.
Yeah, that's one thing I talk about is, can you, one, be smart enough to be dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
You don't got to know everything, but know enough to be dangerous, and then learn from other people. I think there's, you look at every Fortune 500 company has an advisory board. Mm-hmm. Google has people that work in finance and entertainment that sit on an advisory board. Can you build up relationships with people that you think you have no interest in learning from, or that are in a different world than you, and you'll be surprised the things that you can take away from them. And I think we're all a product of our experiences. So the more rooms you can get in, and the more perspectives you can get, I think that's how you put yourself forward. Mm-hmm. And I completely agree with that. So the next question is, have you seen, we think about the progression of athletes now. My pop played in the NFL in the 80s, and it was car washes. That was the thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody had a car wash, everybody had a suit company. They were making suits. I think now you watch a lot of the stuff that's on TV. You look at venture capitalists and Kevin Durant, a lot of guys doing, and Andre Iguodala doing some dope things. How have you seen the relationship with business and finance when you were in the locker rooms? What were your teammates talking about? And then how is that compared to how it's progressed now? And then just an opinion of where you think it's going.
I mean, it's really interesting. The athlete today is totally different. I think from a mindset, from the having the capabilities of doing more, exposed to more. Just information is just it's easy to get, right? And now you can sit in rooms, you can get to a table where it's somebody that's in the business world, in the political world, any world that you want to venture into. So I think the opportunities are there more so than it was when I played. I was fortunate enough to have older guys on the team where they didn't necessarily talk much about business, but they did talk more about family. They did talk more about responsibility. They talked about a discipline. So it showed you something. And fortunately, I had a Del Curry, a Muggsy Bogues, a Charles Oakley, Kevin Willis, and I've seen them move certain ways where they were very, very comfortable even after their career. So they showed me a discipline. So I was very fortunate. But from a business side, we didn't talk much about it. But now players that have more exposure to a lot of investment opportunities, different types of investment opportunities, and not to mention their contracts are very large, right? So they have some type of cash where it's not, I won't say disposable, but you can take more risk at certain things at different junctures of your career.
Yeah, I agree. And Darryl, tell me, your time, at Villanova in the locker room. Mm-hmm. You're a little younger than both of us at this table. But tell us a little bit about some of the conversations that you guys had about business and finance. I know with social media, guys are seeing all these opportunities now. Yeah. Twitter wasn't around even when I was in college. Yeah. So what were things that you guys were talking about from a business and financial perspective while you were in the locker room at Villanova National Championship?
But I think it's I think our conversation was a direct correlation to the modern, you spoke on the modern athlete on and off the court. There was a time in, let's say the 80s, if you were a big guy, you were a big guy. Mm-hmm. You defended, rebounded, scored around the rim, and you didn't do anything else. Now to be a big guy, you have to do a bunch of other things. That's the same for off the court. In business, it's no longer just suits and car washes. You have to be able to get into the gaming world. You have to be able to get into venture capital. And I think I was at kind of a turn. Social media was like really taking off when I got in college, when I got to college in 2013. But like that access that it showed, like you said, it showed people like, oh, there's this opportunity, that opportunity. You're now seeing all these things. And it kind of broadened like the modern athlete's vision for what it can be. I think that was like the biggest difference. So in our locker room, we were constantly talking about longevity. Like I noticed that. That's how I knew I was around like smart people. When we weren't talking about the get rich quick things. Like I know Daniel Chefu, he always had a mind for it. But everything that he thought about was, how is this gonna work out when I'm 30? How is this gonna work out when I'm 35? I was blessed to be around some teammates who came from wealthy backgrounds. So I was able to learn from their parents, like you said, be in those rooms and hear the things that they invested in and the things that they focused on and the disciplines they practiced to make sure that they were wealthy for so long. And I think the modern athlete is starting to realize that, all right, you are around way longer, hopefully, God willing, way longer than you play. So you get done playing at 35, 40 if you're lucky, or Vince Carter, and now you have X amount of years after that to really do what you want to do. So make sure you're setting up for that now.
Yeah.
It's tricky though, right? You talk about, for me, right? We go back, old head, young buck. So it's tricky because I just remember when you made it, so-called made it, they say, don't forget where you came from. Give back to the community and invest your money. But they never told you like, all right, how can I give back to the community to make an impact? I'll just put money into a bar that's down the street or a nightclub or something where they tell you right there. Yeah.
The same issues. Like I'm from South Philly, and like you could easily go back to South Philly and say, oh yeah, like you said, just invest in a bar or something like that. Or you could change the way people think. I think that's way more valuable. Jay-Z had spoke on that in a conference, and like it was like the early 2000s. Somebody asked him, why doesn't he go back to the Marcy projects and invest in those buildings and invest in, they call them bodegas up here, I call them corner stores, but like why didn't he go back and do that? And what he spoke on was like, we tried that, and what happens is, yeah, you can try to change the structure, way something looks on the outside, but if you don't change the infrastructure, how people think about it, like you said, the discipline, certain practices, educating yourself, if you don't change that first, then all of that makeup that you put on a situation is worth nothing.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing now about today's athlete and the people, you can pivot, right? You don't have to just go to the gym and work on your jump shot all day. Like you said, now you can, if you're big, you can work on your handle, you work on your skill set, you do different things, but that's gonna make you a more complete person. And the analogy you use is spot on, because now I remember I played with Vince Carter, and if he was to do anything outside of basketball when he was playing in Toronto at the height of his career or New Jersey, people from the outside would look like, oh, he's not focused on his craft. He could be much better if. But now today's athlete, you look at LeBron, you look at Steph, you look at KD, you look at all the athletes, you look at anybody, they do other things, which makes them that much more valuable. And at the end of the day, you wanna leverage everything you have. And they tell you, once again, I know I'm on a tangent, but this thing, they always say, use basketball, don't let basketball use you.
Yeah.
But the mindset they were giving all the athletes was, this is all you are. This is all you are. Now it's so much better, man. So many opportunities. And I know from our company, we're trying to help our clients and their families exploit every opportunity that they can possibly come across.
Yeah, it's you made a good point there. There's a few things. I think the first thing is, one of the things we talk about at our company at Empower is leverage your now. What are you doing today to make tomorrow 10 times easier? Mm-hmm. And it's the idea that when you're playing ball, when you're a current, we got 3 former athletes at this table. When you're a current athlete, conversations are a little easier. The people want to open doors, to call you back a little quicker. Mm-hmm. You can do things and get into places that are a lot harder when you're a former athlete. Mm-hmm. So doing all those things will just make everything a lot easier, because people look at athletes one way a lot of the times. And when you pull back that layer, it's like, nah, this person is interested in tech, but this person is interested in farming, and this person wants to open up 30 franchises. There's a lot of different layers there. I think by opening up those conversations, you just allow for an easier transition. And I think that's really important, because my pop played for 8 years, and he played in Philly and played in Green Bay. And the thing was, even I saw it when I was growing up, it was like, oh, it pops in the league, hey, open up this door, come over here. Yeah. But then when it's over, it's over. Things are a little different. So what are you doing today, to make life a lot easier? And that's a good point. I'm going to transition to something. And Darryl, being at Villanova, what did you do while you're an athlete at Villanova that's paying off for you today?
Be a good person. Be a good person and being legit. It was something that Coach harped on a lot. It was something that, thank God, a lot of our parents have I'm pretty sure everybody at this table can agree, like our parents had that same philosophy. Just be legit and be a good person. I'm finding out, as a former athlete, I'm not gonna lie, it is a little more difficult, now to get a phone. It's like, oh yeah, now a lot of what carries it is that national champion. So I'm like, all right, I do have to leverage that now, because once they won in 2018, it was like, all right, y'all the former guys. Yeah. But no, just being a good person and being polite to everybody I talk to. Talking to the president of the school the same way I would talk to a custodian. You know what I mean? Just having that respect and carrying myself a certain way. I kept hearing this year when I went back to coach at Nova as the player development, where they were like, oh, it's presence. And I was like, well, what does that mean? They was like, you don't understand who you were here as a person, and your character is what's carrying you now that you're not playing. Because to a lot of people, you might seem useless, or you're the basketball player that is no more, but it's like, no, you were a good person, and now we're willing to help you because of that.
Yeah, and that's dope. And now tell me about your time when you were playing in the league in Toronto, even working in the front office. What were you doing then that's really helping benefit you today, that to leverage your now concept?
Learning. I was learning because, just like D-Ray, I'm the former athlete that had to figure it out. I had to figure out what I was going to do next. Who should I talk to? Am I cool financially where I don't have to do anything? But then I know from that standpoint, just being stale. I didn't want to be stale. I didn't want to be just nothing. And then after having a family, I got to be more impactful. I got to be more, I got to go put myself out there, because I got people relying on me, and I want to make an impact on their mindset. So just learning. I learned so much from different experiences, sitting in draft rooms, sitting in negotiations, sitting in different things. And then ultimately it comes down to what you're saying, like the person you are, right? I can't go talk to a kid in a family if I'm not true, I'm not authentic, right? I made mistakes, I made 1,000 mistakes, but I learn from my mistakes, and I'm gonna articulate that because I have the experience, right? So I just make sure I stay on track to being that person that continues to learn, right? I don't have a degree in finance. I don't have much experience other than my own finances and finance, but I do have a high level of knowledge on decision making, a high level of knowledge on experiences coming from certain demographics, becoming something and going through something. So I just try to use all that information to leverage what's the word I'm looking for? Relationships. Yeah. To leverage these relationships and being true to the relationships. Yeah. So through college, pros and everything, I've just learned. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to say that I'm using everything I learned from something else to help me be who I am.
And let me ask you, as you look back, right? So, whether it's at Villanova or Villanova and playing in the league, what would you go back specifically? Is there one thing or a situation that you were in that you would go back to tell your younger self, here's what I should have been doing, my rookie year that would have really propelled me, or here's what I should have been doing my freshman year, and I'll start with you, Alvin. Is it something that you can look back to tell your younger self?
I would have taken business classes, business courses, finance courses. I would have done all that, because aside from the actual field, to me, it teaches a certain discipline, right? The discipline that I had no idea that I was going to go professionally or have contracts and make money. I had no idea I was going to do that. That wasn't even my focus. But knowing that those things that I've learned early on, they go without basketball. They go without finances. The discipline, and then just the mind structure, and just the impact, once again, that I can help others. I want to help my daughter, my sons, my 2 daughters, my sons, and my family and stuff like that. I want to be able to help all of them from knowledge that I've got. And I think if I would have took the initiative in college to do things that I was going to need, or take classes that I was going to need after college, in the real world, I would have done that.
And let me ask you, I know we spoke about this a while ago. When you were playing, what opportunities were there for you as a player, whether it's networking or building relationships, and maybe you look back and say, if you're talking to a rookie on the Toronto Raptors, and you say, hey, there's going to be these 3 or 4 things or 1 or 2 things that pop up while you're playing that you can be doing, whether it's a season ticket holder event or something, what would some advice you give to that player that you look back and say, that's something that's really going to help you, whether you know it now or not?
Just like I used to when I was director of player development, we had a guy that I really was close to still, DeMar DeRozan, and a guy by the name of Sonny Weems. And every team, they always have like a preseason and a postseason kind of like event where they bring ticket holders, the top ticket sellers, the sponsors, endorsers, and everything, and they intertwine with the team. They mingle and mix with the team and things like that. So they get an opportunity to talk to the players. So I would notice that the players would be with the players, and the other people would be the business people and everything. They would be with them, trying to get to the players, but the players are like, they don't know how to interact. And I would say, DeMar, I should go over there and talk to them. But then I'm like, I'm getting frustrated to a standpoint, but they don't know how to. They're 20 years old, they're 21 years old. They don't know how to talk to a 50-year-old person that may just want to get an autograph or may just want to say hi and we thank you for. So just once again, leveraging that. And that's the things that I would tell them. That's what I would have told myself. Instead of me just hanging around Vince Carter or somebody like this when, the Air Canada, the CEO of Air Canada is over there right now, or Scotiabank. I'm sitting over there and like, now I realize how important even our owner at the time, MLSC, and his name, Tannenbaum, Mr. Tannenbaum. Larry Tannenbaum, he's the guy that's in the locker room all the time. It wasn't never a time where I was like, Mr. Tannenbaum, you got time I can talk. And he loved me. Went to my wedding, came to my wedding, everything, bring me great gifts, loved us. One of the best owners out there now. And it's those relationships and those conversations that I wish I had that I would tell any of the players now. Once you're there, take advantage of it, create that dialogue, create that relationship, and just manufacture that relationship.
Yeah, you'd be surprised when I talk to some of the players. Was reach out, get a cup of coffee, kind of come to your office and see how things work. Whether you want to be in real estate development or whatever it is, you may get there and be like, man, I don't want to do this, but I'm glad I know it now. Or you may walk in that room and say, wow, this is something that really aligns with my skill set. And when I'm done playing, all of a sudden I pick up the phone instead of putting a resume together. No, you came in here before. You got a head start on everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing. I think players are starting to do that even more, but I think that applies to not just pro athletes, not just college athletes, to everybody. You're always in a position where you have a little bit of leverage, and what are you doing with that leverage? When you're a student, think about that. When you're a student, it's like, hey, I'm a student, can I come talk to you? It's like, all right, cool, come talk. When you are a former student, it's like, okay, you want a job.
Right.
So it's one of those things, it's like whatever leverage you have, you gotta take advantage and sort of get in rooms with no ulterior motive initially, because when you do need something, it makes that conversation a lot easier. And Darryl, I asked you sort of the same question.
Probably don't wait. You actually just spoke to it. The idea of, I'll be good tomorrow, instead of, no, I'm gonna get it done now. I think I left a lot of food on the table, just not taking the initiative in the moment. Thinking there would be another chance to talk to it. Being around Nova, the time I was there, it was a lot of people around, like you said, the CEO of X, Y, Z company, in the room. And to me, it was, I'll catch them at the next event. Or I'll make sure that, we'll talk after this. So I don't need to talk to them right now, instead of thinking, no, now is the best time. Let me just walk up and introduce myself. And I did it some of the times. I'm not going to just completely slight myself. I did it some of the times, but it's like anything else. Looking back on it, I wish I would have did it a bit more, because I would have helped open a lot of doors a lot faster, breaking down certain barriers, just having conversations with people, letting people know who I was outside of basketball, for exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Those moments that you talk about, they're exercises, right? Whether you get the door shut in your face or not, it's an exercise, and you're only going to get information. You're only going to get a better understanding of how to go about, when to go about, and it's all, once again, you got to just be prepared to be able to make those moves.
Yeah, and with all this stuff, knowledge is power, right? So we don't talk about it enough, and that's our goal here today to keep these dialogues going. Because I think the more we talk about it, the more lessons get shared, the more that this needle continues to move forward. Especially from an athletic perspective, I think what athletes were interested in business and finance wise 10 years ago is a lot different than today. And I think by having more of these conversations, there'll be a lot different 10 years from now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I've seen the transition, and we talk about owners, and we talk about business people, and we talk about execs. They're more open to the athlete. They don't look at the athlete as just a guy or a woman that's just doing this and doing that. First of all, they see opportunity as well, from notoriety. Everything's content, everything's, the notoriety and from the media side and all that. And you can use a face of a popular athlete to boost your business or boost your brand. So they use them from a different standpoint. But I say all that to say, it's more opportunity. People are more open to talk to an athlete, right? A young athlete, or older athlete. You don't have to be a certain way. You don't have to be buttoned up all the time. You can really be who you are. People are really accepting people for who they are from a standpoint because there's so many people out there that they can relate to and they can build brands and build businesses. So the world is at the athlete's foot right now, man, with the opportunity, and just once again hoping we can help them, empower them to take over and have the ability to put themselves in the best position.
So that's all I have. So any closing thoughts, anything you want to leave, 19-year-old Alvin Williams, 15-year-old Darryl Reynolds, or a guy that's coming up in the draft this year that's starting to think about, all right, I got the hoop stuff down, I got the football stuff down, but whatever it is, anything you want to leave, sort of last thought?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that you always know your value and continue to create your value. Your value is more than like who you think you are and who you see yourself being or who people view you as. You got so much more value. So just, continue to create that value, understand your value. And also for an athlete, right, be vulnerable, like ask questions, you know what I mean? Just you don't have to be the Rock. You don't always have to be that person. You don't have to be the most competitive person all the time. You can use that competitive nature to keep progressing, but I think the vulnerability piece will help you learn so much, help you put your guard down a little bit, explore certain things, and that'll give you a great platform to continue moving forward.
What are you there?
Pay attention to the vernacular. I think that's something that, for a lot of times has kind of been a hindrance to athletes, not knowing the language and understanding when you hear a certain language that something should go off. I always tell people, I compare especially college athletes to horses. And you hear a lot of coaches use, words like stud and thoroughbred. And, to me, it's like, all right, if you think of me like that and you think of yourself as a jockey, then that means there's blinders on me. That means you want me to only focus on this. You don't want me to look around the same way a horse would. And for me, it's little things like that. I'm not saying overreact to every situation or, flip a table in a meeting because somebody says something to you. But at the same time, pay attention to the vernacular of the people around you. Pay attention to the words they're using and they aren't using. Pay attention to the silences when you say certain things and, when you bring up certain points. And just pay attention to that language because that's really what does it. A lot is said in what people don't say. You know what I mean?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
My man.